Okay, so just turn in this. Regular viewers to the channel will know about this. You just turn up your flat section bit of metal into like a rainbow shape. Basically, I'm levering it up and then forcing it to follow the curve of my pliers. And you tend to get best results if you move it along the same amount and then tweak it up the same amount. And then how much do you curve it? It's not really a strict rule on that. Looking at my stone again, just studying the curvature and imagining my metal being that curve, just to sort of go through it a little bit in my mind. Got my normal size half round pliers. I'll just start turning it up, starting from right at the end if you can. But remember, we are not curving it to go around the outside of the stone, not with this type of set anyway. This one has got stone's got to sit on top of this bezel to a point where the bezel's got to be a size where the stone sits on it nicely and you can't see any of the metalwork when you're looking straight down on it. So it's quite a tight curve. So what I do is, if your half round pliers don't have a small enough curve, these pliers are really useful. Half snipe, half flat. Use these quite a lot. So I'm just always putting the stone on. See it, the way it disappears around the girdle? Sort of check the curvature. I'm looking straight down on it, I can't see it. So I should have mentioned earlier, I like to put the join where something's going to be joined up to it. So this is a 3 stone, yeah, the oval's going that way, and we've got the collets going on the side. So if you can get the join of your oval collet right in the middle, that's preferable, because the collet for the tapered baguettes is going to go up to that. So then, as you're finishing the jewellery, when you're right at the final stages when you're polishing it, you haven't got to worry about a little line showing up for your solder join. I mean, if you do a tight join anyway, they're pretty good for staying invisible, but it's just eliminating any kind of liability further down the line. So I'm approaching getting it finished now. I've put the stone on a bit of blue tack because it just helps get your fingers out of the way when you're holding it in position and looking down on it and stuff, and hopefully get it to close up into perfectly aligned, nice tight join, a nice even oval, not all wonky or no flat spots, just nice curves all the way around. This is like, you see that? One's up, one's down. I'll show you that, like, proudly show you my dodgy craftsmanship. When you've got a curvature that's slightly off, like my curve wasn't nice and even all the way across, obviously it sort of was tight and then opened up a little bit. So now I'm turning it up into oval, they don't line up very nicely. Not ideal. That kind of amount I think I'll get away with, but if you've really got to tweak something, you make the side walls of your oval not nice. Like one side will be a bit flat, or one straight maybe, and then one will be too tapered out. Yeah, really ideal if you get a nice curve. So I need to cut a bit more out. That's got the potential to be a nice oval, but I've got too much length on this section, so I'm going to cut a little section out and then close it up, and I think I'll get a nice oval out of that. And obviously it needs to be the right size. Yeah, perfect. Mine's a little bit big, so I'll cut a little bit out off the end, then close it up again. I think I'll be alright. So I'm going to leave mine like that. The size is good, the join's good, but the shape is not. All this from that top and bottom and all that side fits the stone really nicely, but that's too straight. But because it's only just sort of squeezed together in this position, I'm going to solder it up now, and then when it's like a complete oval ring, I will be able to tweak this flat section out a bit wider. I'm going to use hard solder for this first solder. I think it's a good idea because we're going to be putting claws on around it afterwards, so we can do those with medium or easy. And yes, I'm squeezing that together with tweezers, which I complained about in the past, but it's holding onto it so gently, I think I'll get away with it. I'm going to pick some tweezers up spare just in case it drops out, and I'll be able to pick it up out of my skin before it starts a fire. Okay, there you go, soldered it. We got away with it. Yeah, I worry, putting silver under heat, holding it together with tweezers, it can deform it. I think the curve's pretty good. I'm looking at that inner edge against the stone all the way around it. Seems all right. That's not too bad. I seem to remember realising that inside the oval is a nice rectangle, and then the points of that rectangle is where I'm aiming to put my claws. So look, you put your saw blade over it, you can really see down, cut things in half nicely to aid your imagination. So I'll decide a point where my claw will go, holding this nice and straight, nice and horizontal. I can choose a corner, and then I'm looking at the gap remaining when my saw blade goes over. That can give me a clue to get the same the other side. So I can position that one with the same amount of gap from that inner edge there. So yeah, as usual, I'm going to be bumbling my way along, getting this collet done, trying to give good instructions. I'm not good at these, so unfortunately for you, no one's making as in-depth how-to video guides or making jewellery as me. So I would like to say check out this channel, that channel, but I don't think you'll find another video where someone's going to go and show you every stage really closely in detail, making an oval collet. I would actually like to see that. I want to see what other people do to get a really good result. Anyway, so back to imagining my rectangle inside. I think that's a good spot for a corner. It's quite easy to match that up on the other side. What I would do is, as the saw blade is nicely lined up, just gently put a little line on there. So I've got a tiny little scratch. Okay, same again. Go to the long sides. So again, before committing to really putting a deep line down the side, I'm going to put a little nick on all four and then clean the top again and have another look. There you go, look at that. That's not too bad. I took my time. I didn't video much of it because it was just me looking really closely and carefully positioning my saw blade over the top of it. I think I've mentioned this before, when we're splitting open a collet, putting a daylight hole around the middle, you can design it with a marker pen first. Usually going slightly lower looks a bit better. I'm prone to making them a bit too thin. I've recently decided I like them more open, so quite an open gap in the middle, but with more, not directly in the middle, more depth to the top section to the lower section. So we're not necessarily opening it up right down the middle. You can do that, but I find having this bit thicker than the bottom bit, so I'm drawing the hole here, I think that looks a bit nicer. Otherwise, if you've got thinner at the top, thicker at the bottom, doesn't look as nice on a finished collet. I think that looks better. I'm saying leave the bottom half thinner, yeah, but be careful because that bottom edge still needs to be filed up. It's going in a ring, so when it's being worn, there's going to be that kind of shape filed out of it for the finger size. So yeah, we're going to lose a little bit. It's not loads, but on the ends, maybe a mil. You need to not go near. That side, hardly anything. So we are cutting out that middle section now, but only half of it, only from one end, halfway across. And then we're gonna neaten it up best we can, then put the claws on, 2 claws, and then we'll turn around, then we'll cut out the other half. So that ensures that we, top half, bottom half, never actually really leave each other. They're broken through now. It sort of becomes quite easy to cut. And that's why I like initially putting a kind of groove in it, and once you've got the hole going, it saws quite quickly, so it helps your blade stay in a good position. See that? It's a good technique. It takes a bit of practice. I remember not being able to do it when I first tried it. Works better on a slightly thinner blades. Cut 3, cut 4. And just go straight down from that. Again, being careful to keep it parallel with the sides. Unless you've made it too small, and then that means you need to angle it out, so you'll be cutting more into the bottom. But you know that from checking your stone on there. Just a little trial run, just looking at the side, just imagining how the claw's going to sit. Do I like the angle? I'm going to put it in a little bit more. It's not sitting quite straight in there. It's being pushed out a little bit, which is good. That means that I'll have to cut a notch in it for the stone to be set, but it's not quite enough yet. So if I just keep it the same angle but go in deeper, should be correct. I will do that, and then I'll do the one next to it. I think it's just more convenient for looking and making sure they're in the same good position, like mirroring each other really well. If there's a claw in there, it looks a bit different. It's just a bit harder to understand what's going on. So yeah, I do actually, I never used to work like this, but now I do actually recommend cutting grooves, both grooves in first before you do any soldering. Looking at my symmetry, looking down on it, do you like the position of them? Still not totally too late to make a few changes. You could pull it one way or the other, or if you don't like one, or you like where one's sitting, the other one looks wrong slightly, you can pull it about a bit. So with the collet facing me, the claw on the outside, put a little bit of solder there. Why is that sticking up a bit high? Oh, it's down. There we go. Get a bit of heat on it. I want to heat it from the other side because I want to draw the solder down and I want to see it flood down both sides of the claw. Sorry, see if I can get that to stay focused on that, which I cannot. Soldered perfectly, but then I nearly dropped it. You're just gonna have to take my word for that. Sorry if that was out of focus. I couldn't look at the screen. Sorry about that. Sometimes my camera works nicely, sometimes it doesn't. So yeah, perhaps a little bit too much solder, look, but it's flooded on there nicely, really strong. I would highly recommend you check in and double check in when you've done both solders, top and bottom. Really make sure they're soldered on really well, not like it's melted but hasn't flooded through. So use your 10 times loop, look all around it, inside there and everything, because once you've got both claws on and they're soldered top and bottom, they're the only things holding these two pieces together once you've cut through that edge. So they're really important, they've got to be proper strong joins. So to save this video going on and on and on for hours like they tend to do, I will go ahead, do that bottom solder, and then phrase out the other one, get that second claw on. Maybe I'll show a bit of lining up the claws and stuff. So, 2 solders on the first claw, got 1 solder on the second, just double checking my angles. So I rock it backwards and forwards, get the top nice and parallel, and then you turn it towards you. I can't do it. Turn it towards you, and they should be, the claws should be perfectly in line as that hits directly, the side of it hits directly towards you. One claw should be hidden behind the other. So yeah, just to mention again, because it's quite important, your 4 solders that you've done at this stage have to be really good, because those claws are now the only things holding those sections together. So they're important, they're strong. So we've got 4 claws on now. So now checking my solder joins, put a bit too much solder on some of them, a bit messy. That claw I'm not liking the look of, although to be honest, it looks really bad to me on the screen. Looking at the screen, looks like it's going in more at the bottom. When I look at it in real life, it doesn't look too bad. I think we've got a bit of an illusion of like 1 eyes, 2 eyes thing going on, like I was talking about in that previous video. Positioning wise, they're not too bad. I'm just never happy with my ovals. Like I always just for the doubt as I work on them. So what I'm going to do is file off the bottoms so they're all flat and nice. That will help it be more clear as their position, whether I like it or not. I'm not filing it right up flat because I've still got that finger shape to go in it, like I mentioned before. So I'm just going to get the bottoms of the claws flat, but I'm not going right up to the bezel. Just having a close look at it now, and it's not too bad, I guess. I'm seeing imperfections. I don't like that claw. I think it's a different angle. I think it's pointing at the wrong angle, going the wrong direction. But I'm gonna leave it. Come on. I'm just gonna touch it across my wobbly bits of solder just to start it off, and then I'm gonna rubber wheel it. So what I do is freshly sharpen it, line it up, hold it in position. I'm on and off the power all the time. Sort of touch it on and pull it back. But it's really, really light touch. Not really putting weight into it at all. Then I'm onto my mini whizzer. Just gently touch it. Up and down the claws. Concentrate one bit at a time. If I go round it, hitting that claw when that's at an angle preferable to the end, I'm damaging the bottom of the claw, so just doing that bit, and then I'm just doing the claw. And there you go.